I was looking online to find a new fish tank for some upcoming projects when I found a listing of a tank that has live fish in it. Apparently, the seller doesn't need the tank and his daughter doesn't want the fish anymore. There were no live plants, the stones were fake coloured stones, and there was even a SpongeBob house in it. So I met up with the seller and he said it was outside and I could just go take it for free as he needed it gone ASAP. Now the plan is to completely revamp this tank as it's extremely bad for pufferfish and we'll give them exactly what they need. That's if they're even alive or in good condition. After bringing it home, it was time to see if there was even pufferfish inside this tank and what condition they were in.
Now, after taking a closer look, I'm not 100% sure if I can see... Oh, I can see something. I see pufferfish. So there's 3 tiny pufferfish. They're tiny. There's 4. There's 3 here. Then there's one at the back. 4.
Now to revamp this tank, I'll have to remove the pufferfish from it. I got this bowl that should do for a couple of hours while I work on the tank. So I slowly started to take out the pufferfish one by one. Look how tiny these fish are. Now catching them was pretty difficult due to their size, but I managed to finally get all 4 into the tub and they were all swimming around looking healthy. They're incredibly cute. Before we can revamp the tank, we need to get rid of all of the old stuff in the tank like the SpongeBob house. We also need to get rid of the fake plants and the bright coloured stones. Once doing that, I finally had a blank canvas to work with. Now luckily I did have some spare rocks and plants that I ordered for another project, but I'll just use this on the tank instead. Now with scaping the tank, I wanted it to look like 3 big rocks coming out of the ground. After a good while of figuring out how I wanted it to look, I ended up going with something like this. If I had more rocks, I could have done something cooler, but this is pretty decent for now. Once I was happy with the rocks, I then wanted to put some spider wood between the rocks to make it look like the bottom of a river and to just give it a more natural look. Not only that, but pufferfish need a lot of things to hide around as they can nip at each other if they don't have things to break the line of sight. I took everything out and put some substrate down. This is aqua soil and you can use it on its own or cover it up with sand. My plan was to cover it with sand, but I thought it would look a lot better if the soil wasn't covered as it would clash against the rocks better and look more natural. I then put all the rocks and the wood back into place and started planting. There was even a snail on this plant, which is great for pufferfish as they love eating snails. So this will be a nice little snack for them. And don't worry, we will be feeding them live prey later on and it gets pretty crazy. After planting the long plants at the back, I then wanted to add tiny gravel and stone. This just completes the look and makes it look really natural. Not only that, but it gives the puffers something else to dig around when eating, giving them more enrichment. Then, once I was happy with the look, I then filled it back up with water that was from their old tank, so it was the same temperature and is completely fine to use. Now because I had water in the tank, it was a lot easier to plant these plants at the front. Or at least that's what I thought. I always find it so difficult to plant with tweezers. Does anyone have any tips on planting? I just ended up using my hands as that's a lot easier. Before I added the final touch, I wanted to check on the puffers and they were looking cute as ever, wanting to get into their new home. I placed a filter in the tank and let that run for a little while before adding the puffers into their new home. And one by one, I started to add them into the new tank. It really amazes me how small these puffers are. I always thought pufferfish were big fish with beaks that you had to trim, but these ones don't need any of that. I've let them swim around for a few hours so they can get used to their new environment, and they were quite happy with their new tank. They stuck together in pairs too, so I'm guessing they felt safer like that. And after giving them some time, it looks like they were pretty hungry as one of the puffers started to bite the plants. But I wanted to give them a full day to chill and get used to their tank completely before adding food. And the next day, the tank was looking a little bit cloudy, which is normal for a new tank and should clear up in the next day or two. Because it was the next day, I decided to feed them. Now I thought I bought bloodworms, but I actually bought frozen brine shrimp by mistake, but either way they can still eat these, so I put some in to see how they would react. Now pufferfish are extremely fun to watch when they eat, as they really destroy their prey, but it took some time for them to come out of hiding and inspect what just entered their new tank. I even tried using tongs to feed them, and as you can see, they were really interested in it, but didn't bite. My guess is because they're dead, they weren't really interested in eating them. So I went over to my firebelly toad enclosure, and no, I'm not feeding my crazy frogs to the pufferfish. This tank has loads of tiny snails, and I know pufferfish love snails, so I got my tongs and picked out a tiny snail and brought it back over to the puffers. And well, after dropping it in, again the puffer looked like he was interested, but then later ignored it. My best guess is because they're not fast moving or moving at all, puffers are not really interested in it whatsoever. So I came back the next day and this time I had some live prey. I had live bloodworms and live brine shrimp. This should work out a lot better. Not only that, but the tank has cleared up nice again and the pufferfish have gained a lot of confidence. And as soon as I put some bloodworms in, they started going at them like crazy. So I added a lot more and let them feast on them and they were loving it. You can see because the worms are moving around and being active, the pufferfish were a lot more interested in the live ones rather than the frozen ones. Another cool thing about pufferfish is their fins on the sides. It looks like a mini helicopter, meaning they can stay in one position the whole time rather than swimming around. Plus, it looks super cute. But it was now time to feed them the last prey, but quickly before I do that, pufferfish can only be housed alone, and because of that, I'm not sure what I could get to help keep the tank clean. Can I get big snails, shrimp, or plecos to help keep it clean? Or will the puffers nip at them and annoy the other fish I put in? Let me know in the comments as I'd love help on that. Now for the last food, I wanted to try them with brine shrimp again, but this time with live brine shrimp. The only thing is, these shrimp are pretty big, so it'll be interesting to see how they eat them. As soon as I added the brine shrimp, you can see again they were instantly interested in them because they were moving. With the frozen brine shrimp, they didn't even bother trying. Now these brine shrimp, like I said, are a lot larger, but they tried their best to nibble away at them. I'm not a huge fish fan and I don't really find them interesting, but pufferfish have become one of my favourite pets I own at the moment due to how brave and personable they are. They're extremely cool fish. And with that, we managed to turn this horrible tank that was not good for puffers at all into a really nice small ecosystem for these pufferfish. Hopefully over the next few months they'll start to grow a tiny bit bigger, but remember these puffers stay extremely small. So if you have any advice, please drop it in the comments. Oh yeah, I also have a Patreon now. So if you want early access to stuff, a community Discord, or even just to support me and my animals, you can check it out in the pinned comment. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one.